Are you ready to talk about some unhinged books? Because that's what we're here for today, if you can't tell by the title. I am here today with some romances that just have bonkers plots. This is in collaboration with Samantha from Books with Samantha. So she is doing her trope week that she does on her channel all the time. And so that's where she does like a week full of videos every single day with a different trope. And she always collabs with different people. So she asked me if I wanted to collab with her on this one today. And of course I said yes. So thank you, Samantha, for asking me to collab with you. I will have her video linked down below and her channel linked down below. So make sure once you're done watching this one, you go and watch hers. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good things. And make sure you stick around for the rest of her trope weeks. Like, I know she does like them in playlists too. So you have easy access to just binge all of the tropes. But for this trope video specifically, bonkers romances. So here's the thing, when she originally said that, I was like, yes. And then I was looking through, I was like, do I actually have that many that have like bonkers plots? So instead I chose some, yes, they're bonkers. Some of them are just like unhinged behavior takes place in them. Just ones that to me, I'm like, that is just like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? What is this? That's kind of the vibe that I chose for mine. So I'm sure Samantha is going to really pull through with a lot more other like bonkers unhinged behavior. But for me, these are the ones that to me that I've read are just crazy. So the first one that I have is The Game by LP Lovell and Stevie J. Cole. So this one follows our heroine Ella, and I'll read off. So the premise of this one contract, 2 guys, 3 players, 4 strikes, 5 rules, 6 zeros, 7 days. Ella is in a really bad spot right now. She doesn't have a job. Her and her fiance are broken up and she's kicked out of her apartment, and she is like literally has nothing. And she is randomly approached to come to this meeting, this very like mysterious meeting, and she's kind of like, is that safe? I don't really have another option. She ends up showing up to this meeting where she meets these 2 guys, and they give her this proposal to play their game with them. But like I said, the one contract, 2 guys, 3 girls, like it has rules, no questions. She has a certain amount of strikes that she gets. If she makes it to the end of the week, she will get $1 million, but she has to make it through their game in order to do so. And it is wild, some of the stuff that she has to do. It definitely, I don't want to give any more away because I don't want to give anything away about like the rest of the premise or like the things that she goes through in it, but it's her being completely submissive to these 2 guys for 7 days and going through these sets of challenges that they kind of set up a little bit. There's like some things about like morality, kind of like, you know, the situation of like, if you could pull the lever to divert the train, would you do that kind of thing? Gives very similar vibes to that. There's also like murder involved in it. It is just genuinely one of the most like unique books I've read because it's just wild and the premises are really cool. Like I really enjoy the different premises that pop up throughout it, and just like I said, general unhinged behavior happens in this. I can't even like explain the just like craziness of this game without you just reading and experiencing it. So that's first up, and it's shorter. It was originally like 7 novellas, I think, into one, but then like the bind up is just like the game. So again, it's like, it's shorter. Next up, I have a novella. I have a Jessica Kane on here because I had to, and especially doing with this with Samantha, I feel like I got to include a Jessica Kane novella on here, and that is The Husband Sitter. So this one follows Astrid, and when she turns 18, her mother, she like grew up on like, not like a cult, but just like a place with like a bunch of kind of like hippie-ish style people, and her mother was like, you need to go and spread your wings and like spread your gift to the world. So Astrid ends up leaving, and when she arrives, I think somewhere in California maybe, she ends up seeing an ad to be a husband sitter for this group of women, and she's instantly intrigued and is like, I could do that. I could spread my happiness to these people. And she shows up, and the 3 wives interview her, and she becomes sitters for their husbands. So the 3 of them, so one of them, she's like a really powerful business lady. She travels a lot for work, and when she's gone, she wants someone to be there to, you know, keep her husband happy and satisfied. There's also an age gap between them, so she's like worried about him being younger than her and like not being able to keep up with her. So she's like, when I'm gone for business, I want you to be there to satisfy my husband in the ways that I can't. Second one, her husband and her, they have like some certain fantasies that they want to like act out between the 3 of them. And then the third one, her husband has a certain fantasy that she, just as being like her age, cannot fulfill, you know, like he has a bit of like a daddy kink. And she's like, I just can't fulfill that for him and I need you to like do that. So she just starts babysitting these 3 husbands and it's just unhinged. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just wild. Yeah, that's it. I don't know what else to say about it, honestly. Next up. This one is just so like it kind of feels like fan fiction-y in a way, but like it's so fun, but unhinged and bonkers. And that is Groupie by Sam Stunnich. So this one follows our heroine Lilith. So it's rock star, why choose romance? So Lilith, once again, she is down on her luck. I think, did her dad just die or something? And she's trying to get enough money to get to his funeral to like get his ashes from her stepmother. And she has like nothing. Again, she's recently broken up with her boyfriend. She has like no home. She only has her beat up car and she has no job and she's trying to get money. And she decides to sell these concert tickets that she had. So she tries to sell these tickets, whatever. And she ends up at the concert, but out in the parking lot, and her car ends up breaking down. And she is just like, I have had the worst luck. And she ends up stumbling upon this random dude in the parking lot. And he's like, you found me, good job. And she's like, what? And he's like, here's your backstage pass. So she takes it and she's like, I might as well just go into the concert. And she goes in there and she ends up meeting the 5 members of the band, or I don't know how many she meets. She ends up meeting at least one of them. And he sees like how just kind of like broken and sad she is. And he's like, hey, you know what? I can show you a good time tonight. So she ends up going back to their tour bus and she ends up sleeping with one after another in one night. Girl boss behavior. And she ends up going on tour with them. It is, like I said, if you can't just tell from like the circumstances that set up this book, let alone her sleeping with 4 of them in one night. The first night, unhinged, but so fun. It's the first book in a trilogy and I love it. So it starts out as like why choose with her and all the guys, but then some of the guys do start like getting together by like the 3rd book. Love it. Super, again, like toxic, lots of like sad, broken boys in it. And she's like sad and broken and they all like heal each other. Wild time, but a lot of fun. Next up, I have another novella, and this one I'm not even gonna say is like romance. I don't know where this duet is headed, honestly. This is truly one of the most unhinged things I've ever read, and that's Dirt by Daya Daniels. So this one is a novella, and I think the heroine's name is Kitsune. And she works as a maid at this hotel, where at this hotel, guests can just do whatever they want with the people that are there. So she is just constantly like taken advantage of there. But here's the thing that like doesn't make this just like dark I mean, it is dark, but doesn't just make it like that level of dark and makes it more into like the bonkers territory, is that you're like, she actually... does she like her job? Does she not? I mean, she definitely hates her boss, and her boss is a piece of garbage. So, like, obviously there's that. But then this one guest ends up arriving, and they end up, you know, connecting and vibing, and he ends up taking her away from the hotel and on his boat and for his parties, and it's wild. But here's the thing with this one, that, like I said, it doesn't end up being like, oh, someone like rescue her. She's got an agenda of her own, and the book ends with her, I can't like give it away, but it ends with her doing something, and I was like, have I been misjudging you this whole time? Like, have I been thinking that you are like a damsel in distress when you in fact are not? Wild. Truly just like, I didn't explain it good because I don't really even know what to say without giving it away. Again, it's just something that you have to experience, but definitely like not a romance yet. It does have a second part to the duet that I haven't read yet. And I do think that you probably get like the HEA more like romance in that one, but this one in particular, just wild, like truly just like bonkers. So yeah, it's just one you gotta read to experience. Oh, I didn't even grab this one. I own this one. I didn't even grab it off my shelves, but I'm too lazy to go and get it. And that is The Initiation by Nikki Sloan. So this is the first book in the Filthy Rich American series. And this one, it's definitely like still like set in reality, obviously, but to me, it's like unhinged. It's the ending to this one is just kind of bonkers. So this one follows Marius and Royce, and Royce is Royce Hale, and his family is like the owners of like one of the biggest banks in the world. They're like super wealthy, and he wants Marius to be his wife. Marius's family is in debt, and the Hales are offering to bail them out if Marius will marry Royce. So it's kind of like arranged marriage-esque between the two of them, and she ends up going and moving into the Hale mansion basically. And when she gets there, she's like trying to like develop this relationship with Royce, but at the same time, his dad, McAllister, also has a special interest in her. But here's the thing, so that like alone, it is like kind of a little like, whoa, that's a little crazy. But here's the thing with this one. Royce wants to be a member of the board on like the Hale Banking Company, and no one knows how the initiation really goes. It's very like hush hush, very secretive, but one woman and like the 10 members of the board disappear into a boardroom and the initiation happens. And that's where it's like, this is bonkers kind of comes into play. Like the whole relationship dynamic with Marius and Royce and McAllister is messy enough, unhinged enough, but it really is like the initiation, which is what this is called, that it's like, whoa, this is a little wild. So that's why I included it on this list. I wouldn't say that this book as a whole is super wild, but like that whole premise and like the ending and stuff is kind of like, what is going on here? Okay, I have 2 more. So these last 2 are definitely dark, and this one is 24,690 by A.A. Dark. I have talked about this one in quite a few of my recent videos, but obviously if you haven't watched those, you haven't heard me talk about them. So if you have already, you can skip ahead to the next one, but if you haven't, 24,690 follows Everly, and the reason that I chose this one for this list is because truly it's bonkers to think about the plot of this one, because to me, as you're reading it, it's not so far removed from our reality. Everly was kidnapped when she was younger, and she was taken to be a slave in this secret area in the rural mountains of Montana. And she is kept there where these billionaire people, politicians, actors, bankers, famous people can pay to have like a life there where they can go and be masters and have slaves there, which are like these women, and they just kind of have total control over these women's lives. And I think you can imagine what happens there. So Everly has been there, and this book picks up where she has killed her master and now she needs to get a new one. And Bram, who is like the head of this world, has pre-existing feelings for her and he wants her for himself, but he also knows that like in order to maintain the control that he has, he can't allow himself to have feelings for her. So his second in command, West, ends up wanting her, but there's like some competition and some like rivalry between West and Bram a little bit. And it is truly one of the darkest books I've ever read, like super, super pitch black. So definitely check any triggers before going into this one, because if you have any, like, this is not the book for you. It is so, so dark. The thing with this one that is bonkers to me is that these women, like, you hear them talking like on auction night when like these women are going up for auction. They're like, oh, did you hear like so-and-so and he is here? Like, he's like the biggest movie actor right now. We're like, oh, so-and-so is here. I love his music. Or like so-and-so is here. That's like the vice president. Like, it's wild to me because it's scary how realistic it truly could be. So that's why I'm including it on this list, because it is just bonkers when you're reading it to think about the fact that it's not like that it's set in our reality, and it obviously is fiction. Yeah, I had to include it. And lastly, I have Cruel Black Hearts by Candace Wondrak. So another dark romance, but I had to choose this one because it is general unhinged behavior happening in this one. So this one follows Stella. She is our heroine in it, and she is obsessed with serial killers. She writes a article in her local newspaper about serial killers, and she also has a blog talking all about them. And she just has like, she's kind of like sociopathic, like she has no emotions, not anything really, and she ends up drawing the attention of an actual serial killer, Ed, and his brother, Lincoln. They're not actual biological brothers, but they're brothers in like the sense that it's like they're each other's ride or dies, and they've been through a lot of stuff together, and they are both serial killers. And she ends up grabbing the attention of Ed, and he like accidentally bumps into her one night and like connect, and he brings her back to his apartment where Stella is like inexperienced in all ways, but yet in one night she's like with the both of them, and she sees them killing people, and she's like, I like that. Unhinged behavior in this one. But it ends up being a dark why choose romance between Stella and these two serial killers, and then also a third serial killer who is entering the equation, the Angel Maker. That is what Stella dubs him. He is a new serial killer that is killing people around their town and styling their bodies in like praying motions, and she becomes instantly transfixed by him. And I can't really say anything more about that because that would give certain things away. It is the first book in a series, but it is just Unhinged. This whole series is just absolutely bonkers. Just like wild stuff. Enjoyable because it is so like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? So anyways, that is my romances with Bonkers, plots to them. Like I said, make sure that you go check out Samantha's video. I will have her channel linked down below for more of those and for the rest of her trope week videos that she's been doing. So anyways, that is it for today, and I will see you when I see ya.